You're listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Theresa Levine. You're already enough, but if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching, creating, and aligning with the person you feel called to be, and creating greater calm, clarity, and confidence in your life, as well as room for pleasure and expansion. Through amazing stories, conversations, and offerings, this podcast is here to inspire and support you. Get ready to release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our consciousness and vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Becoming More Me. I am excited to introduce you today to Jen Szpigiel, and she is the founder and CEO of Becoming Iconic, where she uses her expertise as a life coach, health coach, business coach, and mentor to help online entrepreneurs grow profitable and aligned businesses that are rooted in integrity and purpose. The secret ingredient to everything Jen does is her honesty and transparency, which can easily be found on her top business and lifestyle podcast, also called Becoming Iconic. I love that we both host podcasts that embrace the art of becoming. I think that's so cool. Jen blends strategy with alignment as she shares hurdles, challenges, successes, and in-the-moment revelations with the intention that it inspires women and mothers everywhere to take inspired action and live life on their terms. This is going to be a lot of fun today, Jen. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And I too agree that I love that we both embrace the becoming, because I really believe that's part of our journey and is the journey in itself.
It is. Yeah, we're always in the act of it, right? So
Absolutely.
Why not explore all the aspects of it?
Yeah.
So I would love to start by just learning a little bit about you, where you live, where you're from, what you enjoy doing with your free time when you're not becoming iconic, although I'm sure that happens in your free time also.
You know what? I can say in all honesty, it does, because I have such a high intention to surrounding myself with beauty and memory making moments. It's what started me in entrepreneurship. When I became a mom, I had a beautiful corporate career in marketing. And when I laid eyes on my first child, I now have 4. But that first one is such a pivotal moment in a mother's life, especially as a new mom. And I was very young. So my whole life shifted and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom and build my life with my children. It just felt like the right choice. And it was. I've been a work-at-home mom now ever since. I've never gone back to the corporate career. And I sort of call myself unemployable at this point in my life. But I really decided early on to pursue this version of myself that could look in the mirror and lay my head on the pillow every evening saying I did the very best that I could, never striving for perfection. Although I say that, and it is a little bit of, it can get in the way with me a little bit, that idea of making things perfect.
I call myself a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah, I am still recovering. I'm in the recovery.
It's much like the act of becoming. I think it's an always thing. You just constantly have to be conscious of it and then try to kind of back down and go back to being human again.
Yeah, I agree. I sort of straddle this line of thinking that part of that high standard of excellence has served me so well. What doesn't serve me is, having that high standard of excellence and not being flexible and fluid and patient and forgiving of myself. It's holding myself to that standard can sometimes be, I can be my own worst enemy at times, but I would rather be on this side of the coin than the other. So I embrace it. However, there's ways that I could loosen my grip. And it's really my journey that sparked Becoming Iconic, is this idea of what if iconic gets to mean something unique and special to every individual, but that the common thread amongst all of us is this pursuit of becoming the best version of ourselves, which I know is what you stand for as well. So I'm so excited to be having this conversation with someone so like-minded.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And I know we had a little bit of trouble with rescheduling and everything else. So it feels like I've been waiting for so long to talk to you and to get to know you better. So I appreciate the opportunity also. So you mentioned that you also have 4 kids. I do also. How old are yours?
19 now. Oh my gosh. 19, 17, 10, and 8.
We have a lot of similarities there too. Boys, girls?
Girl, boy, girl, boy.
Okay, so I have all four boys.
Nice.
My oldest will be 18 in less than a week.
Oh, wow.
And then I have a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Okay, so you've
So,
got the spread too. So
oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's an interesting house with a spread. There's pros and cons. I sometimes wonder, like, what would it have been like to have all four at one time? And part of
Eh.
me is like, I don't know. I get sweaty thinking about it, but I think there's
I
some
never
beautiful parts.
had more than one in diapers at a time. Although
Okay,
maybe
so
there were some pull-ups happening on the tail end of one
yeah,
with the
yeah.
diapers. But are all four of yours from the same marriage?
No, and so I had
Mine aren't
to.
either.
Okay, so there we go. So that's a lot of like people will often ask, how come there's such a spread? Well, it's because I started my life all over again and I met
Yeah.
someone who didn't have children and it just felt like the right thing to do to have children with him and so we were blessed
Oh
with
yeah.
a daughter and a
Even
son.
more, even more commonalities. Yeah, the in between the almost 18-year-old and the 13-year-old, that's where my whole life was reinvented. So,
Yes. I get that. See, this is the no wonder we talk about becoming because we've walked through these hurdles and obstacles and overcame so much. And I think that's what really sparks for most of us this idea that we can be resilient and there's really nothing in the future that we can't overcome because we've proven with some of our past circumstances that, we may scuff our knees, we may have dirt on our elbows, but we crawled out of that and we stood on the other side and became a better version of ourselves as a result.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think some of that, I call it high functioning anxiety, that perfectionism that drives you,
Yeah.
and that has driven both of us, that, really to keep striving and growing throughout the obstacles and the hurdles. So, what was it like for you and your kids when you were shifting into being a work from home mom?
So my kids don't know me any differently. My daughter was 2 years old. My son was 7 months old when I found entrepreneurship, which was such an interesting thing because I had not even considered entrepreneurship. There was nobody in my family. I didn't have an example of someone who had been successful or he even tried. So
Wow.
when I found entrepreneurship, to me, it was like, it literally felt like a marker moment in my life where I realized, oh, wait, we can have the best of both worlds. I don't have to constantly choose between the desires of my heart as a woman, as Jen, who's here to fulfill and have purpose,
Yeah.
many things, and mom. I really felt like as a woman, you had to choose a side. And so I chose my children because it was the very natural and in my eyes, the correct decision for me. However, I really sliced and severed a huge portion of myself because I was such a young mom. I had so much potential. I had so many things I wanted to try and do and achieve. And so when entrepreneurship fell in my lap, I was like, this is it. Everybody needs to know about this because you can really be present and available and create so many memories and joyous experiences as a mom with your family and the big and fulfill this purpose and really see what you're made of through building a business, whatever that looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Absolutely. Did your corporate job provide the knowledge and experience that you needed for the business that you created through entrepreneurship, or were they totally separate?
It's stacked.
Okay.
All those experiences sort of stacked upon one another. Marketing was definitely a leg up in entrepreneurship because it's the one thing that I think a lot of people lack.
Yeah.
And I don't like talking about lack in terms of it being a negative. It's just a lot of people start entrepreneurship because they have a great business idea, they have great work ethic, they love the freedoms and flexibilities, they see the vision. And so they start. The one component that I'm really passionate about, and I understand why people don't know how to do it. They've never had a marketing career, they've
Sure.
never gone to school for marketing. And because I had that in my past, it certainly helped me in terms of building a brand and really understanding how to be great at marketing to be all of myself and to try and play where most people right now are just looking at others and copying and duplicating what's already been done. So we have all these diluted versions of people where marketing to me gets to be that sweet spot where you really show up as who you are in that unique special space.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And I mean, experience is experience. So it's naturally going to stack on top of itself and add to whatever it is that you do next. And I don't think marketing does come naturally to most people.
No.
So it's great to have wonderful marketing coaches that have so many other experiences too, because that's
Right.
not all that you do. I know you also You're big into like human design and things too, aren't you?
You know what? I played with that, or I had a
Yeah.
moment
I'm
with
just a
human design.
dabbler, but I think I saw something on your website that you're a manifesting
Yeah,
generator six
yeah,
two, and guess what?
yeah.
Me too.
Oh,
So,
there.
what do you enjoy if you've only just dabbled, and it's fine, but like what do you enjoy about understanding your human design? Because I'm still trying to like figure it all out.
Figure it out. So this is my love. I don't like the word hate. This would be my back and forth. Let's call it that with human design or anything of that realm. I think it's really incredible to learn about ourselves. I felt like there were some things revealed about me that made sense when I learned about my human design. I was like, oh, there was some permission within that learning that really started to have me step into my posture and roll my shoulders back and sort of own who I am. The piece of human design or anything of that sort, astrology, is we're all attempting to eradicate boxes. And sometimes when we learn about these things, we just go from one box back into another. So we box ourselves as like, I'm a manifesting generator. And so once again, we're putting these sides and walls up around us as though these are the perimeters I can play in. And, this is who I am. And so we've, again, just put ourselves in a different looking box. I really rebel against things like that. I just think we're so available to whatever is coming our way. We can mold and shift and move, and who I am today is going to be different than who I am tomorrow. And especially as women, I mean, we're different every single day. This is a scientific and
Yeah,
hormonal fact. So for me to say I am just this way feels really close-minded to me. So
sure.
again, I like human design for the opportunity to dive deeper, better understand ourselves, but let's be careful that we're not just walking from one box into another.
Oh yeah, I can totally appreciate that. It's kind of like the stacking of experience, the stacking of knowledge is no different, and it all kind of interweaves together. And with the box analogy, I got the smile on my face thinking about how my mom, who is a stay-at-home mom and always there doing all the things for my sister and I, she used to make these amazing box mazes for like our fun fairs at school. So I'm just imagining all these boxes of our knowledge and understandings all kind of connected in the way that she would connect them. And maybe put a window in here and you can kind of look out and see other things, and they're all kind
Yeah.
of intertwined and dancing together, and you can walk through all of them as one person. So
Right.
that's kind of coming to my mind as you bring up the boxes.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
and I know that we share the belief that there's no such thing as balance. With that in mind, how do you recommend creating the harmony between life and business? And what do you personally do to that effect?
So, to circle back to the sort of beginning of our conversation, everything in my life has deep intention. So, the desk that I sit at has fresh flowers, a candle lit. I don't believe that beauty and luxury sits with wealth. I think it actually comes from intention and
Yeah.
purposely inviting it in. So, my life and business are so intertwined at this point, I don't actually even look at them as separate. And the same goes with my family. This is a big lesson for mompreneurs specifically who feel like we have to sort of silo ourselves, where when we're working, we're this version, and when we're in the home, we're this version. And that can feel really conflicting as you're leaving your home office and walking into the kitchen to kids who are hungry. So what's happened for me is that's translated into a lot of masculine energy where I'm sort of feeling guilt no matter where I am, because I'm not having this opportunity just to blend the worlds and
Yeah.
invite my children into what I'm doing and the vision that I have and the dreams that I have. So I've done a really good job, if I do say so myself, of opening this up and sort of it becoming one big beautiful lifestyle where the
Right.
business fits in, and again, it's not these different compartments. So for me, harmony comes from the realization that you're not in a tug of war with your mind and your spirit. So as women, we are just scratching the surface of what this can look like for us and really seeing the capacity that we hold. We've been so narrow minded for multiple reasons and for all sorts of things we could get into. But, for the sake of the conversation, the doors are being open for us. And so we have a massive opportunity. I don't think there's ever been a more exciting time to be a woman than it right now. We are blazing a trail. We are the pioneers. No one has ever done what we're doing before as women. And so for me, that really demands a level of intention and responsibility, and to be someone when as soon as I wake, I invite in who I desire to be. So that's one of my biggest lessons or tips is, looking at your day yesterday and going, where are there areas of improvement? Where could I improve? And starting from the moment your feet hit the floor, giving thanks for another day. You woke up. I mean, this is a blessing. We take it for granted.
Absolutely.
Walking to your bathroom, and when you cleanse your face, feeling your skin, giving thanks for your skin, and the fact that you have a soap that can wash and cleanse your
You've got
skin. There's
water on tap.
Yes, amen. And that it can be hot or cold and you can pick your temperature. I mean, we are spoiled rotten
Oh, yeah.
and we forget the many blessings in our lives. So I hold a high regard to gratitude, celebration,
Oh,
and
yeah.
intention. And that sort of sprinkles and peppers itself throughout everything that I do.
And that appreciation leads to more of all those other good things. So I
Yes.
think without being able to appreciate them and have gratitude for them, there's not going to be more coming.
Yes.
So that's that's very important. And I definitely agree with the philosophy of just weaving the luxury and the pleasure. I think pleasure is
Mhm.
a big part of it. And I think that's also something that women have downplayed and overlooked for way too long. And there's
Mhm.
just so much that we can bring to greater life and vibrance in this world, for both women and men and kids and everybody, with more pleasure flowing through the veins of ourselves and coming into what we're doing. And I
Mhm.
love how seamless it sounds like your life and business have become. I do still, feel like there are times when things have to be siloed and it feels strange. And I take time to note that and
Mhm.
to try to figure out exactly what needs to integrate or what I need to change up here or in here in order to continue to mesh it all together. But I did have a lot of fun recently inviting my kids to be on the podcast. And I was so surprised that they actually wanted to, be part of it. And it was such a cool, very different episodes, but that was really neat, and it felt like another way to bring it all together for
That's
me.
beautiful.
So
That's beautiful.
that's
I think
awesome.
as women, we do feel like there's a level of martyrism that we've really mastered in certain ways. We're good at that. And it's again those things that have been taught, the examples we've witnessed of poor me, I do it all. And I can say this and have this vulnerable conversation because I too lived that up until I would say as early as 3 years ago. I mean, I really wore the badge of I do it all. I've got 4 kids and multiple companies, and I'm cleaning the house and I'm cooking the dinners. And, it was said with pride, but it was also said with an edge and a
Mhm.
note of victimhood.
And
And
probably some superiority too,
yes, 100%. There were times where I definitely
because
let
I do
my
that
husband
also.
know. Yeah, I would
No
definitely
judgment, just feeling it also.
reminder, husband, I'm doing it all. It is a superiority complex in certain ways, and it's not easy to admit, it's not easy to see, but I think there's something really powerful about a woman who surrenders into this and reminds herself that she gets to all of these things that are in my life were my choice. I chose to have 4 kids. I chose to be an entrepreneur. I chose to clean my house. Those are my choices, so I can't make them wrong, and instead I get to look at it and reframe it where it's like, I get to get up
Mhm.
with my children every day and get them on the bus. I get
One of my
to make
favorite
dinner.
reframes.
It's so important. And we got to catch ourselves. And again, this is never about perfection, it's progression, because I would love to say that I've got mastered this as well, but there's moments I slip down that slope again and start to feel like poor me, I've got to do all these things. It's like, wow, I get to do all these things. What a privilege, what an honor, what a responsibility, what a joy to have this full of a life. And coming back to that gratitude point really helps.
Yeah, I think looking at the life as full and robust is so much better than looking at it as, "Oh, I'm so busy and
Yeah,
overwhelmed,"
yeah, yeah,
because that's just a choice like everything else. That is
right.
absolutely awesome. And, creating legacy, with integrity, I know is another thing that you, strive to do in your business. So what has that looked like for you as you're in the process of creating your legacy?
Mhm. This has changed. One of my greatest mentors. would talk about legacy often, and he really did an excellent job. And so when I was in entrepreneurship, especially early stages of entrepreneurship, I was really focused on building something that I could leave, that it would have a ripple effect. There would be a dust in the room when I left of the things that I did, especially running through integrity, the lens of integrity, really holding myself to a standard of excellence and love and compassion and empathy and service, because that's just really important to me, that everything I do runs and sifts through that. But what's interesting is he had a correction to his teaching that really landed for me as well. I really appreciated, first of all, that he said, I want to course correct what I've been teaching for so long. And he said, I want to teach legacy differently. And what he said and what has landed for me and how I now perceive legacy is it's how we live every single day. He said, if you actually look at legacy and leaving something behind, let's say for your children, well, they're reaping the rewards and the benefit, and they're soaking in the pleasure of what their mother has done when I have passed, when I am no longer here to experience that with them, when I'm no longer available to watch them smile and be proud of me and reap the reward of my hard work and dedication. So he said, what if every day gets to be a point of legacy, where every day we curate and cultivate this memory making moment? I put that in because that's my line and my why for everything. And that really supported myself in the daily movement and progression forward. And then also this high regard for how can I make today special, because today gets to be legacy. And there's a little selfishness in it, but that's a good selfishness, because I think it's okay to want to have those experiences with your children in the now and not wait to give it to them when I leave. And
Yeah.
so to see them like tomorrow morning, whenever this airs, I'll already be there, but I'm taking them away to Mexico. And we do that often because life is precious, life is short, and these things matter. And I am really excited to be able to do that for my family. So it's an interesting thing, legacy, and now I feel like every day gets to be a part of it.
I love that. Yeah, so much better to share it while you're here than to
Mhm.
hope it's appreciated after you're gone,
Yeah.
for sure. I'd like to actually circle back to what we were talking about, joy and gratitude and pleasure and things. I think we defined, that it's important to us, but I think understanding why, like maybe kind of a little bit of the ROI on joy and pleasure, like why do you think that embracing those things today in the present moment, much like with the legacy, will give you more, let's say, like financial or emotional abundance?
Right. And it's so tied together because most people are on the sides waiting for the evidence first before they give themselves permission to have joy and fulfillment. So it looks like, if the client tells me I'm doing a good job, then I'll believe I'm doing a good job. Once I make X amount of dollars per month, then I will feel successful, or I'll feel like I've achieved something. And so we're in the waiting. And it's really backwards thinking. If you think about it, it's not up to our businesses, our clients, things outside of ourselves to validate the way we feel or to provide us with the permission to feel joy, fulfillment, excitement, pleasure. And so the
That's a
waiting,
birthright, in my opinion.
oh, it is. It 100%. Abundance is your birthright, one of my favorite affirmations. And what I believe happens in the online space is there's a lot of comparison. And so we look at people who have designer bags, red bottom shoes, private jets, the bro marketing that we're seeing just done with a feminine touch. And we're comparing and feeling like once I have that, then I will. But I can challenge anybody in their thinking to say, but you get to have it today. It costs nothing to cut some fresh flowers and put them in a vase beside your bed to elevate the space. It costs nothing to go get well, I guess it costs the cost of a candle, but that doesn't have to be expensive to go get a candle, but to have the intention to light it and sit down with it as you sip your coffee and enjoy a moment. When you live in pleasure today, it naturally invites in more abundance. But the thing is, most people think manifestation is just thinking about it and
Mm.
visualizing it. But manifestation is that. And there's a plus sign that most people don't tell you or show you. It's actioning the thing you want. It's the becoming that you and I talk about. How can I become closer to that version today? Well, I'm going to put on, one of the things I'm known for is the silk robe analogy, which is also the way I live. I really wanted to dip into feminine energy because I do thrive and spend a lot of my time in that masculine do, which I love and has been productive. But I really wanted to invite more of that feminine luxury, pleasure, ease, fulfillment. So I bought myself a silk robe. And I bought it because as soon as you put that on your skin in the morning, there is something very beautiful and luxurious about silk touching your skin as you put
Very
it on.
sensual.
It is. And as you walk to the kitchen to make your coffee, you'll start to see that you're sort of grazing the floor versus the stomping heavy foot.
Mhm.
Your posture changes, the way you move changes. And so I set myself up for success. I have a candle ready to be lit. I've got a beautiful coffee cup that I love to sip on because it just brings me into that elegance, that space I desire. I dim the lights. I have my silk robe. Those things are not attached to a dollar amount. They're not attached to how many clients I have. They're not attached to those things outside of me. That feeling, really ultimately, what we all desire through wealth, through luxury, through pleasure, is a feeling, but
Right.
that feeling belongs today. And
Yeah.
what a sad scenario if we look back and we think, oh my goodness, I could have had the feeling of peace. I could have had the feeling of abundance. I could have had the feeling of love and luxury and pleasure and beauty in my life. But the whole time, I thought I had to wait for something to give that to
I
me
thought it
when it
wasn't
was
available to me,
available.
or
Mhm.
I didn't think I was enough.
Absolutely.
That I see all the time in people that I work with. And
Mhm.
yeah, for sure, making
Mhm.
that a daily part of your day and just doing it because you are worth it. And it's such an easy way to raise your vibration and
Yeah.
get yourself just a little bit closer to the way that you authentically, genuinely want to feel on a regular basis. There's
Yeah.
always something available to us that can take us up a notch from where we are
Mhm.
and make us feel even more amazing.
Yeah, you got it. It's exactly it. I remember my mentor, my coach saying to me, "Jen, what if this is as good as it gets?" And I remember being really
Right.
triggered and I was like, "Cancel, cancel. I can't believe you just said that. Like, we're talking about growth and abundance. Like, why would you even put that out into the world?" And she said, "But what if it is?
Because
Like,
it's
what
great.
if
It's
your
still great,
business
right?
right now?" Yeah, and I had to sit with that. That really triggered me. I was really like it shook me a little bit.
Yep.
And when we got off the call, I was not feeling good about that call. I was like, I can't believe she would even project that. I mean, I was just blaming and, I didn't want to see it. But there was such a massive lesson in that. I'm so grateful. It was one of the most pivotal questions ever asked to me because it was like, why am I delaying? There's always going to be more. I remember hitting my first million, and you think once you hit that summit, something's going to shift or change. Like you've arrived, and you realize when you hit that summit, that peak, that there's actually another mountain ahead of you that you've got to climb, and it's even bigger and it's more treacherous, and the climb is more rocky than any one that you've done previously. And that was such an eye-opening experience for me because there's always the next. So if we can be really grateful and joyful and satisfied, not complacent, but satisfied, satiated in our life in this current moment, what's possible? Because I believe gratitude is the invitation for more.
Absolutely. I love, love, love that. So let's turn a little bit to the business side of things. I'd love for you to share a little bit about, what you do and how you help people and things like that. So what are your best tips for selling with soul so that you can, create wait lists in your business, those lifelong clients, those customers who really reflect back that value of the business, kind of like you do? What are
Mhm.
your
Thank
tips
you.
there?
Thank you. Yeah, selling with soul is one of my favorite teachings because what we're seeing right now is really out of integrity. It's ego disguised as liberation, especially with women. And we're saying we're normalizing wealth for women. We're going to talk about money to normalize women with money. There's nothing normalizing about us throwing our income out on the internet every single day, every single month. And what we're doing is raising ourselves onto a pedestal, whether someone wants to admit that or see that or not. And what it does for everybody else who's scaling and growing is makes them feel like they are not enough, they are not successful enough, because we have this constant comparison. So, soulful selling to me is not needing to pain point sell. So, not really manipulating someone into buying from you based on what is triggering them, what they already know they would like to shift and change. I mean, I think about it a lot in the wellness space. You don't need to tell a woman how how do you feel when you put on a bathing suit? We all know how we feel when we put on a bathing suit. Don't remind me of that to sell to me, because what happens is codependency. What happens is someone buys thinking that
Yes.
person's going to fix me. No one's going to fix you. You're not broken. And so these sales end up happening where we go in these relationships, putting the person on the pedestal. And then what happens? Disappointment. It's not what I thought. Things didn't change because we didn't take the personal responsibility. So, what I like to do in selling is meet people like heartbeats. So, you'll hear me in my brand all the time refer to the community as heartbeats. They are souls, they are hearts, they are spirits. It is to me such a privilege when someone comes over to Instagram and hits follow, because that was a choice. They chose to come here and hang out. They saw something for them. That to me feels like such a beautiful blessing. I am reminded, as last year I lost my social media and tens of thousands of followers and 10 years of growth and oh gosh, it was heartbreaking. There was so
So
many
I felt
pictures,
that.
all the things where it was just
Oh,
gone. So as I rebuild social media, I was really grounded and anchored into the reminder that every single person counts and matters. And I will always lead by seeing people. So soul-led sales is that. It's an empowerment movement for both myself as I tell people the ways in which they can work with me. So I'm empowered in that. I lead that, but I also get to empower them to make a great decision for themselves, to take their time if they need to take their time, to ask the questions if they want to ask their questions. I'm so tired of looking at the coaching industry specifically, shame people for wanting information, telling people if you ask me for information, you're probably not my ideal client. Most people I work with just ask for the link. We're shaming
really?
people to inquire before they invest their money. I mean, what are we
Yeah,
doing here?
that's
So
awful.
it is. There's a lot of lack of integrity in the online space. People are doing the best they can with what they know. So I believe it to be a
Sure.
level of ignorance and lack of experience. But I am a pioneer. I've been doing this for a long time, 17 years. And so I have watched many trends come and go. And what I can tell you is nothing will ever outgrow service,
Nope.
kindness, humility, love, generosity. Those things will never go out of style. So anchor into those things all the time, and you will have soul led sales.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for pointing out some of the things that are still going on that could definitely use the kibosh.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Where is the best place for people to find you and your work if they want to learn more or work with you or find out what you're up to?
Well, thank you so much for that opportunity. Becoming Iconic is really easy to find across all social media platforms. I do have an agency. So if someone's not necessarily looking for mentorship, but wants to build a brand, wants to have some back end support, podcasting, whatever it may be, the agency is there as well. And I do have a magazine that is free. The digital copy is free. It's Becoming Iconic Magazine. And of course, you can subscribe as well. But that magazine is so gorgeous. I think
It
it's one
is
of the best.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely
Thank
beautiful. I
you.
was just going to say that.
It's like I have so much adoration for it, because that is my childhood dream that came to fruition at the end of last year. I've always wanted to have a lifestyle magazine. So I feel like it's like I say to people, it's like Forbes meets Vogue. You're going to have business and business moguls that are in that magazine every single month, but you're also going to have this elevated lifestyle, this provoking sort of way of looking at things that elevates everything in your life. So there's lots of ways to connect. And of course, becomingiconic.co.co is the website where it houses everything.
Lovely. Awesome. I so appreciate you being here today. It was so nice to finally have the opportunity to
Yeah.
chat and to get to know you better, to understand where you've come from, where you're heading to, all the ways that you are becoming. Thank you so much for being here. Is there
Thank you for
anything
having me.
that you'd like to leave the listeners with or any final thoughts that you'd like to add as we wrap up?
Well, I want to say, first of all, to you, thank you so much for having me. And I want to honor you because this was a beautiful interview with very thoughtful questions. And I appreciate that. And just really grateful for this opportunity. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it was a joy. And I believe what I would love to say as a parting thought, which is just to nudge someone a little bit today, because the becoming is audacity. I mean, being who you were yesterday is easy, easy in terms of effort, not easy in terms of outcome. So I would nudge someone to be a little bit more audacious today, to be a little more trusting of their capacity, and to be a little bit more bold in the things that they ask of themselves, not of the world, but of themselves. Because becoming is the pursuit of yourself. Nobody is coming to your rescue, nobody is going to do it for you. This is your pursuit. And it really is the shared purpose we all have on in this lifetime and on earth. So my nudge is, could you like just turn it up 1 degree more, just a little bit today, to see what is possible on the other side of that, and to trust yourself a little bit more that you can handle it and you can hold it, and the outcomes will be generous and great. So that's what I'd love to leave the audience with.
Beautiful, beautiful. Turn up the frequency, dial it up, tune into yourself a little bit more. Beautiful things are on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jen. And thank you for all of you who are listening for tuning in today. I appreciate you. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.